All right, for the first time in probably about a year, I am live. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Born on 11/9/70, and I think it's time that a voice of reason was heard, and I hope you will take the time to actually listen to this. Because when it comes to what is going on in this country and in this world right now, we are headed down a path that is probably not going to be in the best interests of humanity. And we need to rethink things. So I have been doing this channel for about a decade, and welcome, Karen, trying to warn people of situations, not because I want to scare people. It's to inform people to think for themselves and to do things in a better way. And currently what's going on in this world is, especially in this country right now, is going on a wrong path that is not going to lead us anywhere beneficial. So I'm hoping you will share this video and listen to it from beginning to end. Okay, now obviously I'm not going to mention the name of the individual that was murdered, because you know how YouTube is with their algorithms. If you say something and you're not CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or the mainstream, you will be ghost banned. My channel has been ghost banned for the longest time, but I do know, as you can see in this live chat, even though I haven't made a video in a year, there are people here. So the message will always get out. And one of the things that I'm happy about, if you could be happy about anything that's going on right now, is with the media trying so hard to silence and divide us, it's actually been awakening more and more people, because even people that were totally asleep and totally refused to believe in what was going on, when they see things being silenced and channels being blocked and lies being propagated, people started investigating. So the more they try and silence these things, which it does work, because like I said, most of the people on my channel, I have over almost 50,000 people on this channel, and I will be lucky if I get 900 views. The message will get out. So let's talk about what's going on right now with riots all over the country and people burning down cities and towns and people's homes and businesses. Now, I am going to be the first, and by the way, I'm not putting on the camera, you're not going to see anything. This is just basically so you could listen to it in your car while you're working, because I don't want this to be about me, I want this to be about the message. So there will be no pretty pictures, there will not be me doing a rant to get a bunch of people to hope this will go viral. This is about speaking truth and a message to everyone, whether you're black or white, male or female, Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, it doesn't matter. We are all human beings, and we're seeming to forget that these days. And I think a voice of reason is very important right now. But as I was saying, the person that was murdered, and he was murdered, has caused a backlash where people in cities throughout the country are now gathering by the thousands and burning and looting as justification to vindicate a murder. Now, the first thing I want to say is, any death that is where somebody takes the life of somebody is wrong. It does not matter their skin, their sexual preference, their religious freedoms or choices. It doesn't matter. When somebody takes the life of somebody else, it is wrong. Period. And two wrongs do not make a right. Now, I want to point something out that the mainstream media doesn't seem to want to be talking about. Now, I haven't listened to most of this. I have basically shut down listening to the mainstream media, but I'll listen to a clip or two for a minute to get some things going on. I don't drown in media, and I highly recommend to anybody out there, if you are addicted to Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, any of these, stop it, because they are creating the agenda, and you will create your world based on what you believe, whether it to be true or not, whether it is geared towards making you believe and justify something or not. It's very dangerous to follow that path of living your life based on others telling you how to live. But the one thing I want to point out is, yes, the cop that had their knee on that gentleman's neck did the wrong thing and should be punished for what they did. But you also have to understand, there were other cops around, literally standing on top of where the other cop was, within a foot or less, and they did nothing. which is, if you know anything about law, accessory to murder. If you and a friend were walking down the street and your friend decided to play some trick on some homeless person or some child or some elderly person, and they ended up murdering that person, and you sat there and did nothing, or maybe laughed at it, or maybe sat there in horror, but you didn't do anything, and you both got arrested, you would be arrested for accessory to murder because you didn't do anything. You were complicit. Now, the reason they don't talk as much about that is it doesn't fit the racial agenda, because the other cops were not all Caucasian. Now, I'm not justifying anyone doing that, because like I said, wrong is wrong regardless of race, because I've seen police officers do things like that on numerous occasions, and it didn't matter what the race of the person was, and those do not get advertised in the media. But if it fits a political agenda, they are very happy to propagate it. Now, just a week ago, if you were going outside in groups of more than 3 or 4 people, media would have been all over you telling you how dangerous that was and how much of a risk you were taking. A month ago, you could have been arrested. And now, thousands upon thousands of people are in the streets, burning down buildings, burning down businesses, burning down cities for justification of a wrongful death of a person. Now, if you feel that it is justified to hurt somebody or hurt innocent people that had nothing to do with the situation, and that justifies vengeance, then you have to question, do you have love in your heart? Right now, people are being programmed to give away their freedoms. And they are truly testing our forefathers' motto of united we stand and divided we fall. People are really testing that. And people need to start thinking for themselves. Now, I will say this 5,000 times if I have to. And again, I'm not mentioning the person's name. Everybody knows who it is. But if you mention it here, YouTube will do everything in its power to shut it down as fake news or going against their agenda, because they're complicit as well. Wrong is wrong. You cannot justify burning down towns and burning down cities and burning down people's businesses. It's hard enough right now to be able to survive because businesses are told you're not allowed to open in this free democratic society. And remember what Benjamin Franklin once said, and I will not have the direct quote, but basically it says, if you give up your liberty for security, you will get neither. And look exactly at what is happening. Anyone out there that does not have love in their heart will find vengeance as the key. And it will never bring us closer to being human and closer to the humanity that we all deserve. You get what you give. And this experiment called humanity is really being tested right now. And the beautiful thing is, like a light switch, you can switch anything on and off. Like a road, you can always go in another direction. So it is not too late, because as they say, it ain't over till it's over. And it ain't over yet. And when things seem their bleakest, there are those that may need that situation to finally arise and make change in this world. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to be a spectator that does nothing and enjoys the fireworks and ends up one day the fireworks land on your house and burn your home? Because when you do nothing, you're still doing something. When you don't make a choice, you're actually making a choice. The whole idea of this propaganda is to lead people towards division and violence. So anybody that's religious, whatever religion, is this the way your God or gods or whoever you worship would want you to follow? Is this what any Bible or any manuscript throughout history has taught us? Love thy neighbor. Now, I thoroughly agree, like I said, that cop should be punished for what he did, and he chose to do it. And the cops that sat around and did nothing while he was doing it are just as guilty. I want people to see themselves in the mirror. I want you to look in the mirror and look deep into your eyes to the point where you could feel your soul and say to yourself, am I doing what's right? Or am I just following along what everybody else has done? And that's the same of what most people have done throughout history, which led to nothing but division and violence and slavery and death and poverty for the masses. The media loves this because they're getting so much ad revenue. They're making so much money off of this. And unfortunately, that's what it's all about. Money equals power in the minds of the criminally insane. And that's why I don't want to show my face. That's why I don't care if this gets demonetized. Because my message is not about making money. It is about doing what's right. And on this channel, I will speak in ways that some may not agree, some may not like. And that's okay. When did it ever become a bad thing for people to have choice, to have variety, to have individualism? You can have unity, but still be an individual at the same time. I don't like broccoli, but I will never stop someone else from enjoying it. Who am I to stop somebody else from doing something that does not affect me because I don't like it or I don't agree with it? This is all about love and lack thereof. The love is being taken away from this world. Now that doesn't happen to everyone, because like I said, with more and more of all of this happening, more and more people are starting to wake up to see that they're being led. Don't be the sheep. And the reason people say that is because the sheep and the cattle, they get led. But they get led to slaughter. And it is always a choice. Whether you believe in that or not, you are so powerful that you have the ability to shut off your own power and believe it does not exist. But the direction we're going is not going to benefit us in our future and our children's future. So I will not watch mainstream media anymore. Of course, in these days of social media, it's kind of hard to not know what's going on, but it doesn't mean you have to believe everything you hear. I have not worn a mask once. I go out in public all the time. Not once did I even catch a cold, because I research, I know what's really going on. So, a week ago, COVID-19, this supposed pandemic, you would be chastised if you went out. In some places, you'd even be arrested. And now it's okay, as long as it's propagating an agenda. There are better ways to mourn the loss of someone, especially if they've been wronged and injustice has happened. But in this situation is exactly what happened. But if you use that to rob a store and loot somebody's home and burn it down, you're not honoring the death of a person. You're doing something selfish with no love in your heart. Whether you get paid to do it or not is irrelevant. But again, the more things like this happen, the more people are waking up to realize, because like I've always said, you need real eyes to realize that you do have a choice. But there are consequences for your choice. If you think burning down cities or being somebody that cheers them on is justified, be careful of the world you're creating. So these Colin Kaepernicks of the world and these celebrities that are now saying, oh, look, see, there's a racial divide. They're not bringing peace. They're not bringing unity. They're bringing division and hatred. It's okay to protest and be unhappy, but there's a right way and a wrong way. You could peacefully protest. What did a person in California who owns a small little shop that barely has enough money to survive have to do and have to deal with their place being robbed and looted and destroyed and burned to the ground? How does that help the situation? Because people are doing that. How is destroying the lives of other people? Because is that one death horrible? Absolutely. How many more people are going to suffer because of it? Because people chose to use hatred and revenge in their heart. There are now thousands of people who will not have a business anymore, who could starve to death or lose their home, who could commit suicide from depression. Does that make anyone feel better about the choice of rooting them on or saying it's justified or being a part of it? There are many people that will always take the opportunity to take advantage of a situation. So I'm not saying this is staged or anything, because it doesn't matter whether any event is staged or 100% legit. It's what you choose to do with it that will dictate this whole agenda and the direction it goes. Here's one of the secrets I've learned. We are given the ability in this world for free speech. Not everybody has the same amount, but if you look, any government or any powerful authority has the ability to say whatever they want. That doesn't mean you have to agree with it or even believe in it. But if you believe in an agenda without doing your own research, or you just blindly follow, you better hope you're hitching your horse to the right wagon. And the trick is to convince people of what you're being shown and what you're being told is the only truth. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. When every truth is true. And I'll give you an example of how two truths can be 100% opposite and both be correct, even if they're happening at the same time. Put yourself on a roller coaster with a friend. You're sitting next to each other. You're in the front row of the roller coaster. Both of you have never been on a roller coaster before in your life. You're going up and down the ride. It's scary, it's fun, it's whatever. One person enjoyed the ride, thought it was the most fun, fantastic, exciting thing they ever experienced. And the second person, your friend next to you, was scared to death, hated it, thought it was the most horrible experience in their life, could not believe they went on and would never go on again. They were both on the same ride. They both experienced the same twists and turns, the rises and falls, and yet they both saw it differently, and they are both right. In this world, you create your own reality based on your own heart. And people are not listening to their heart anymore. They're listening to their head. They're listening to their ego. They're allowing money, power, and popularity and fame to dictate what they do, instead of following your heart, trusting in your heart. And that's the difference between a person who will murder an animal because it was fun and a person who will save an animal because it's right. And you could make whatever choice you want, but people are spending their whole lives, just picture those two people on the roller coaster again, and the person that was having fun spends their whole time trying to convince the person that hated it that it was fun. You'll never change that person's mind. And on the other end, the person that was scared to death can sit there telling the person who loved it how horrible they should be and how scared they should be. People are spending their whole lives trying to convince everyone else of something, not understanding and respecting that everybody's truth is true because it's based on their own perception. But people don't want to think about that because it doesn't seem to make sense. Why? Because you're not shown that in movies, you're not told that in music, you're not told that by your governments throughout the world. You don't hear it in the news, you don't read a book about it, you don't hear it in school. Out of sight, out of mind. Who listens to their heart anymore? And that's why I want you to look in the mirror, look in your eyes, look deep in your soul and say, are you doing the right thing? Because you can lie to everybody in the world. You can even lie to yourself, but you can't lie to your heart, and your heart knows the difference. And if you don't listen to your heart, you become cold, you become cruel, and you justify the pain and suffering of others. Whether it's somebody murdering somebody or somebody laughing at somebody else at their own expense to hurt them because it makes them feel better, filling a void that will never be filled because it is endless. And Freedom Fighter says, not everyone's truth is true, dude. Well, in your mind, that is your truth, so you are right. A person can justify a murder, and it makes it their truth. It doesn't make it right, and it doesn't mean you have to agree with it. But if somebody can justify murdering somebody, then that is their own truth, which makes it true in their eyes. So everybody's truth is their own truth. And Freedom Fighter, you're proving my point. That you're going to spend your life trying to convince someone else of what they believe in, if it's the opposite of what you believe to be true. And you will forever be trying to convince others. You cannot, if you are on that roller coaster and you had the most horrific ride and you got sick and you would never do it again, and the person next to you had the best time in their life, you will never convince them that it's horrible and they should never do it again. But if you want to spend your whole life trying to do that, by all means, you have that freedom to do it. So we can continue in this world to argue with each other and let the ego say they're 100% right, no matter what. Okay, Freedom Fighter, if you want to... Murder is wrong. I 100% agree, but tell that to a murderer and see if they agree with you. I am 100% in agreement with you that murder is wrong, but I want you to go to a prison. I want you to go to a person that's murdered not millions, but that's governments. Go and talk to a person that's killed 30 or 40, 50 people and ask them if they think murder is wrong. So again, I'm not saying what somebody believes in may be right, but it will be right for them. There are people right now who are burning down buildings, and they are doing it because they feel they are right. There are people cheering them on because they believe what they are doing is right. That does not make it right. Freedom Fighter, all I'm going to say is, I'm not going to combat with you. You are true to believe anything that you want. But if we go back and forth, here's the one thing that I will teach you. And I will say this to anybody. And I'm not saying this is you. But when you argue, don't take this personally. I'm just saying this as a statement, and it's not meaning you. So if you take it personally, that's up to you. I'm saying it as a point. But when you argue with a fool, the only thing you realize is there are two fools in the conversation. So murder is wrong. But murder is not wrong to everybody, because if murder was wrong to everybody, there would be no murders. Governments murder people all the time. Just because you do a drone strike, for example, and you don't see it happening, or you're not physically the one that's pulling the trigger, doesn't make it right. So yes, 100% agree, murder is wrong. So Freedom Fight, I'll have to ask you, if you believe murder is wrong, is that just for humans, or does that include animals? And if that includes animals, I hope you're a vegan. And if you're a vegan, you're killing plants. Plants are alive. So the whole situation is trying to say, no matter what you do, there will always be a logical explanation for everything. My point is, we can spend our lives arguing back and forth and creating more vindictive nature, more division, more hatred, because we can go back and forth forever. No two people will ever agree on everything. That doesn't mean one is wrong. It means one is wrong in the other eye. And if we are all made from one, then we are only hurting ourselves. Because if people... Freedom Fighter, I wish you the best. You have your way of thinking, and it's obvious that you are not willing to be flexible. So I wish you the best, and I wish you happiness, and if what you believe brings you joy, then by all means, please do it. So I'm going to end our conversation with you, and I wish you well. So, getting back to everybody else. And that proves my point, and I thank him for bringing that up and the situation that we had, because it verifies how easily people can get lost in their own belief system and not be willing to listen and hear what other people have to say. What we do is allow our egos to justify what we believe in to be 100% true, and what somebody else believes in is 100% to be false if it goes against what we believe in, instead of respecting the fact that everybody has an opinion, and everybody has the right to their opinion. Does not make it right, but if it makes it right in their eyes, we should respect it. We don't have to like it. Like, prime example, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I do not believe in a gay lifestyle. And I'm just using this as an example. This is not to insult anybody. So if you're a gay, or if you're bisexual, whatever, that's wonderful. But I don't agree with it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop you from living that life, because you're not forcing me to try and live your life. But I respect your choice. So I am allowed to not agree with a gay lifestyle, but I do not have the right to stop somebody else from choosing it, whether that is punishable by God or what have you. Because who am I to judge somebody else? For I am not God. I am part of God, but I am not God. We are all God, because we are all part of creation. So we can spend our time in this life pointing fingers, justifying everything that we want because it's something that we believed in. Because remember, everything you believe in has been pretty much told to you. So depending on where you were born, or when you were born, and who you associated with, your life could have been completely different if you would have been born 100 years ago in China, or 1,000 years ago in Africa, or 5 minutes ago in Brooklyn. Freedom fighter, if I blocked you, I would not be able to read you saying, "Did you block me?" I don't block people for having their right to be freedom of speech. But that's my point. I do not agree with what you believe in, but that doesn't mean you're wrong, even if I don't agree with it. And that is proving my point of two truths can be each other's truth. It doesn't mean it has to be yours. So I did not block you. If you want attention, you're getting it. So congratulations on that. So the fact that you wrote, "Did you block me?" and you could see it, shows that you were not blocked. We had a conversation, and I thank you for it. And it's proving my point that sometimes people's beliefs are so strong that they're not willing to listen to anything else, making their truth, and making it right in their eyes. So I'm ending the conversation with that individual because they're not willing to listen. So thank you for that conversation. I love people. I love humanity. I love trying to be the best that I can. That doesn't mean I'm going to be the best. That doesn't mean I'm going to make a perfect life. It doesn't mean I'm going to do everything right. I'm going to make mistakes. And that's okay. Mistakes are made, whether they're done purposely, sneakily, accidentally, regardless. But it's what you do afterwards that dictates who you truly are. And Hilo, it doesn't matter whether he is or isn't. He helped me prove a point. And I thank him for that. So it doesn't matter. I am allowing people to be able to say whatever they want, because it will prove the point. But there will be people who will say violence is the answer. There will be people that say love is the answer. Both are right in their own minds. And people have to realize and respect the fact that everybody has a choice to believe in whatever they want. But here's the thing I would recommend. Don't base things on what other people are propagating to you and telling you. Base it on your own life. Because I'll tell you this much. If I have the choice between intelligence and wisdom, I would choose wisdom every time. Why? Because wisdom is experience. Intelligence is just regurgitating what somebody else told you. And if you look throughout his story or history, any situation can be changed, cannot be accurate. Just because somebody said they did something, or just because somebody said they didn't do something, does not mean that is true. Even if it sounds good or creates an agenda. The idea is to think about what your heart says is right. Because you can lie about everything in your life. It's easy, especially over the internet. You could be anything you want, anyone you want, anywhere you want. You can even lie to yourself, but you cannot lie to your heart. Your heart always knows what's right, but you have to listen to it. You have to feel it. If you want a better life, because maybe have to is not the right word, because in this world, we are given the ability of free will, which means you can do the right thing, the wrong thing, or nothing, but there are always consequences. So do you want to be a person that sits idly by and watches the world burn? Do you want to be a person that sets the world on fire? Do you want to be the person putting out all the fires? Or do you want to be a person that tells people that things are wrong? Because not everybody is going to listen, not everybody's going to agree. But you cannot worry about everyone. You can only worry about the people that are listening, who feel the same way, or are open to be at least able to listen to all sides. If you are a person that only will listen to your side, you are only ever going to hear half the story and you will never see the full picture. So if anyone's beliefs are so strong that they are not willing to even listen to another side, then you do not know how the universe actually works. Because if God created everything, then for you to justify anything as wrong is saying that the God who created it and allowed it to happen was wrong. But people don't want to think too deeply, because if it goes against their own belief system, they don't ever want to challenge it. And that's the thing I've done. If you watch my channel, I have grown, I've gone back and forth, I do different things, I'm allowed to change my mind. Sometimes you need to try something to find out if you like it or not. And sometimes you might have to try it once or twice to say, you know what, let me double check, let me make sure I liked this or didn't like this. Nobody goes on a roller coaster once and says, well, I don't ever have to do it again because now I've done it. Maybe you might have liked it. Maybe you want to do it again and experience it. And maybe one time you ate too much and you got sick. That doesn't mean that that ride is now evil. It just means at that moment it did not work for you in the way you intended it to be. Because if you spend your life with nothing but intention, your intentions will not always be beneficial. How many of you are following your highest joy? I know it's not easy, but look at this whole situation with this quote-unquote pandemic. How many of you realize that the media talks this way? I've always told people, if you watch my channel, I've always said, listen to the words that are being said. Pay attention closely. Because I'll give you an example. Let's say you have the most highest religious experience in your lifetime, and an angel falls before you and speaks to you. So you have a spirit that has come to you saying, I am an angel, and I'm here to help you. God has listened, and I am here to give you everything that you need. And all of a sudden, all the information you were given by this angel was negative and hurtful, and you experience pain from it. And you say to yourself, well, how could this being be the angel they claimed? Because I'm not getting love, I'm not seeing light, I'm not seeing harmony. This entity must be lying. But you didn't ask the question, what type of angel? Because aren't there things called fallen angels? Sometimes it's not the words that are being spoken, it's the words not being spoken. And it's your job to figure that out. Because That individual, that entity did not lie. It was an angel. But you assumed when you heard the word angel, it meant good. It was a fallen angel. Lesson learned. So just because you hear something does not mean you're hearing the whole story, or the right story, or the right story for you. The truth is, every single living species in the known and unknown universe has the right to live and do whatever they please. Does not mean what they do is right or right for you. Because as I agreed with one of the individuals, murder in my eyes is wrong, just like murder in his eyes is wrong. But not everybody is going to agree, because like I said, if everybody agreed with what that gentleman and I believed in, then there would be no murder. And as you can see, there's tons of it, and there have been tons of it, and there will be tons of it. So not everybody agrees, even though it is the right or the best way to live. So when a president or a dictator or somebody or a soldier decides to pull a trigger and take the life of somebody, they believed that their moment, that was okay. It was justified. Listen to a bunch of soldiers that were in a war and their best friend was about to be mowed down and they had to pull the trigger. They can justify it and say that's why they did it. They were saving the life of somebody. Or what about you're in your home and God forbid somebody breaks in and tries to murder your newborn baby and you had to murder that person to save your baby's life? I guarantee you that person will justify that murder as being okay. Does not mean it was right. Does not mean there are not consequences. But you cannot spend your life telling somebody else what they're doing is wrong in your eyes, because who are any of us to dictate what somebody else's right of free will to do? They will receive whatever consequences they will receive for their actions. Who are you to be the one who enforces it? But yet our egos allow us to judge all the time. I'm no exception. I've done it myself. I would be a hypocrite if I tried to deny that. But we learn from our mistakes. We try and do the right thing when we can. And we see all sides, not just one side. You will never get a complete picture if you only see half the image. Stubbornness keeps people from growing and expanding and getting to the God or gods they say they love and truly find in their heart is the right answer. Are you being the best you can be in that God's eyes? Because if you were that God, would you look at what you're doing and what you've done, whether it's secret, whether nobody knew about it, or whether you got away with it, would you be proud of you? I know if I was God looking at myself, I wouldn't be proud of me. I've done things that are wrong. Everybody has. And see, this is why I like letting the live chat speak to each other, because as people start to fight, it proves my point. Instead of everybody respecting everybody else's right to believe in their own belief, they start arguing and spending their whole time trying to convince somebody else of what they believe in. There are consequences for what you do, even if you don't do anything. If there's a person drowning in the ocean and you don't save the person because you don't want to be involved, well, if you would have saved them, you could have drowned, or you could have saved them. But if you did nothing, you still created a choice. So, my biggest thing I can tell people is, we're headed in a direction that's not going to lead us anywhere spiritual. There's not going to be love. There's not going to be unity. There's this division. And why? Because there are people who profit off of our hatred, our division. So we can continue to allow it, or we can walk away from it and not be a part of it. That's why I don't watch mainstream media anymore. I don't want to be a part of somebody else telling me how to live my life. If I do the wrong thing, I will pay the price for it. So everybody has the right to their belief, but if you spend your whole life trying to convince others, that's what you're going to do your whole life. That's why the one individual is still trying to convince people of their belief. And notice how it's not working. So you'll spend eternity trying to convince others your way is the way. And it may be. But if somebody else doesn't believe in it, you cannot convince them. Trust me, I've learned this on this channel, even my other channel. There will be people who will hate you just because. Does that make it right? So for those few who are willing to listen, of my 47,000 subscribers, 49 people are watching. And out of the 49 watching, I would say about 7 will take this to heart and see things in a different light. And maybe of those 7, maybe 2 will decide to change their life and look at things differently. But let's say only 1 person did that, and they ended up helping somebody else. Or they're the one that helped change the world into a better direction. And maybe it was because something I said resonated with them. Then I'm darn glad sure I made this video, whether people like it or not. I didn't do it for anyone but myself and for those who resonate. Because I cannot force my agenda or my belief on anyone else. And that's the problem that's going on in this world. There are people trying to force you to say, my way is the right way, and my way is the only way. And you will spend eternity doing that. That's why if you look throughout his story, we've been doing nothing but dividing and murdering and dying and starving throughout history. It has not solved anything. So we can continue to go in the same path our forefathers went through. Or we can say today's the day we try something different. Okay, now since this one individual is being nothing but combative at this point, I'm going to say goodbye to this person, and I hope they have a nice life. So this person will no longer be able to comment. Because it's one thing to make a case argument, but if a person is going to be naive and not allow people to have their abilities to speak and be nothing but confrontational, that's a person that's going to not help the world become a better place. So I wish that person luck, but if this person truly believed in the God that they believed in, they would be more willing to listen and have love in their heart and not be competitive for whatever motives. And that is the true hypocrisy of what most people are like. That person was a prime example of most people in this world. I am right. My way is the only way. You better listen because you're wrong. And I will tell you everything you need to hear because it's good for you. Instead of saying, I am willing to listen to all ideas because everyone has the right to think in the way they want. And if you're doing something evil, you will be punished for it in some way, shape, or form, and it is not my job to do that. So whether if he was a troll or not, I gave him his chance to speak. He proved the point, and it actually helps me prove the point even further. So I want people to see that conversation for what it was. Do you want to be one of those people that thinks your whole life is justified to telling other people what to do? Because you notice I will share my ideas. I will share my thoughts, but I will never force somebody into thinking the way I want to think. You have the right to do whatever you want. Doesn't make what you do right. Because if you do murder somebody, you're doing something wrong. You're not doing something with love in your heart. But you have the right to do it. I don't recommend anybody doing it, and you shouldn't do it. But obviously throughout the millennia, people have done it. Governments do it all the time. They just send other people to do their dirty work for them. Your hands are just as dirty as the person who pulls the trigger if you're the person that gave them the gun to do it and told them to do it. How many police officers out there are standing up for the rights of the people, going against what they're told? Just doing your job is not the best way to live if it's hurting people. Look at what this quote-unquote pandemic has done. It's taken away people's freedoms to the point where people... There was a church, because I now live in Florida. I moved to Florida. Most of you probably don't know that. I gave up New York. I could not live there, and I'm so glad I moved away, because the movie Escape from New York now to me is a documentary. But there was a person here in Florida that was a priest, a minister, whatever. And he wanted to hold services through this quote-unquote pandemic. And you know what they did? They arrested him. Is that the freedom you want? Is that love? So my point is, from the beginning, what happened with this gentleman was wrong. But obviously, the person who had their knee on his throat didn't believe so. And the people that were standing there filming it didn't stop it either. So the cameramen who had the viral videos that made tons of money off of screening that did not bother to put the camera down and stop them and say it's wrong. But they stood there with a nice steady camera filming it all for you to see. And that because of a result of that, the media is now taking this full advantage and forgetting about the fact that we're supposed to be quote-unquote social distancing, even though when you wear a mask, you're going to be sicker because you're breathing in your own carbon dioxide and you're touching your face mask all the time, which means if you have any germs on your hand, you're bringing it to your face. You're also creating moisture on the inside of your mask, which can create bacteria. And plus, most of the masks that people are wearing have not the strands and fabrics of that cloth. Many people wearing cloth are not small enough to stop any bacteria. It's like using chicken wire to stop a mosquito. But you won't hear that in the media, will you? Because it goes against agendas. So if we continue down this path of arguing and division and justifying whatever you do and say is the right thing because you believe it to be right and no one else has their rights, but you do, we're not going to head anywhere that we think is going to be helpful. Just look at the image before you. That is an supposed actual image of what's going on from people who are upset about the death of a person who was wrongfully murdered, in my opinion. The cop and the cops that were there probably were not thinking of that, because if the other cops thought that that cop was murdering that person, they would have stopped it. So either they didn't know or they didn't care. Neither one is good. I want people to think for themselves. Because when you think for yourself, you actually can say, okay, the thing I believed in, let's challenge it. Let's hear all sides. Let's see what I think resonates with me the most. But most people are afraid of that, because if you spent your whole life with one belief system and you find out that it's not true, or it's not what you really thought it was going to be, it demolishes your whole being. And most people are so afraid of that. They're so afraid of the ego death. But you need it if you wish to get to other levels. But you don't have to. So I implore those who resonate with what I'm saying to no longer be silent, but not stoop to their level and create more violence, because that is never going to create a better world. You do not put out a fire by spraying it with fire or gasoline. And that's what's happening right now. The media, governments throughout the world, celebrities, all of these people are using their own agenda. Look at me, look at me, look what I'm doing. I think this is wrong, so I am going to justify it. That's why you're not seeing my face right now, because this is not about me. It's not even about my message. It's whether you resonate with it or not. Some of you will listen to this and say it's a load of garbage. And you have that right. So throughout history, we've been distracted. We've been divided. We've been angry and hateful. Instead of just seeing that whether you're black, white, gay, straight, Republican, Chinese, whatever, your sexual preferences different, whatever. We're all supposed to be human beings. We don't treat each other that way. So we can keep pointing fingers. We can keep getting angry. We can keep doing nothing. We can keep sitting idly by. We can keep justifying what we do as okay as long as it fits our own agenda, even if it hurts somebody else. Because I guarantee you, that city, the cities that are being burned right now, somebody right now is crying because they lost everything and had nothing to do with the situation that occurred. How is that beneficial? How is that right? How is that justice? Media doesn't want to talk about that. And if this pandemic was so dangerous, why are these people, these media outlets, sending their cameramen out to film thousands of people all conjugating to each other? Why? So they can get the most clicks on YouTube? The most ad revenue? The most advertisement revenue? If you want this world to be a better place, you have to open up your heart and start using your mind in a better way. But you don't have to. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. This has been a long time coming. I'm going to have some more videos soon when I have the moment. But like I said, I've been distancing myself from this because I don't want to be a part of it. But I felt this was necessary. Now, some of you will thumb this down, some of you will thumb it up, some of you will listen and walk away, some will listen and say this was a waste of time, some will share it, some will delete it. I cannot control what you do, even if I ask or tell you what to do. All I am saying is, please try and think differently. Listen to your heart. And listen to others. Or not. So hopefully something I said resonated. And if I wasted your time, I can't say I apologize because I don't regret anything I do, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, because we can all learn from something, even our mistakes. But I would ask you, if you were one of the people that listened to this and you didn't agree with anything of it, and you didn't like me, and you didn't listen with an open heart, then did you waste my time or did you waste your own time? That's for you to decide. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you appreciated something in this video. If any of you are kind enough to thumb it up and share it, it would mean the world to me. And I hope there's one person that found something in here that will change their life even slightly for the better. And if that's the case, I'm happy I did it. So thank you for listening. I cannot promise you when I'll make another video, but I will try my best because my world has changed and I needed a lot of soul searching, and maybe one day I'll explain how I got there. But till then, be safe, be kind, look into your own heart, look into your own soul, listen to others, and be kind to one another. And remember, no matter what you do, there will always be consequences, because the world is nothing more than a reflection of you. So if you want to change the world, you first have to change yourself. Thank you for listening. Much love to all of you, and I'll see you soon. Have a great day.